Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season. But this week it's going to be Monday and Wednesday because the Vikings are playing on Thursday night against the Rams out in L.A. So we're going to move our show to Wednesday night this week, our second show of the week. And it's brought to you by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2024 GMC Acadia and Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is Sam Bird. And Sam, I'm sorry to say that I did predict that game yesterday, that Detroit would hand the Vikings their first loss. I called it 30-27. It ended up being 31-29. So I was pretty close. I knew it was going to be a close game, come down to the wire, and that's exactly what happened, unfortunately, for the Vikings. Had a shot at the end. Yep. Could have had that long field goal by Will Reichert, who hadn't missed all year. But again, miscues, and as Kevin O'Connell called it, self-inflicted mistakes, and they had an illegal formation, had to bump back to what would have been a 73-yard field goal, no dice, and then Darnold gets sacked on the final play, which was not even to have a shot at throwing it up to Jefferson, maybe draw a pass interference, get one more play to kick the field goal. That was really bad by the offensive line not to protect on that situation against basically, it was a four-man rush by Detroit. So they weren't sitting back waiting for that Hail Mary. They were going after Darnold in that situation, which I think is kind of smart on their part, just to not give a quarterback time to stand around there and then launch that deep ball that can be very dangerous. But it was a heck of a game, very exciting game, kind of as expected, back and forth. And both teams had their chances. Both teams had big leads that they blew. And ultimately, you got to say, in the final analysis, Sam, I would say the big difference maker, Jared Goff, outplayed Sam Darnold. Goff was fantastic until the fourth quarter. He had a couple fumbles that, luckily for the Lions, they recovered. But that second quarter, he was just on fire. Vikings couldn't stop him. Their corners weren't playing as well. Even Stephon Gilmore, who's been really good this year, falls down on a touchdown, which we'll see shortly in the highlights. And it was a rough day for the secondary in particular. I think a couple things happened, Sam. I think they really missed Blake Cashman in that game, and with his ability to kind of cover the middle of the field, and that enabled Jahmyr Gibbs to kind of run wild on them. Yeah. And I also think that T.J. Hockenson would have made a difference in this game. It was not Johnny Munt's finest game. He had a couple holding penalties in the game. But just your thoughts on the game. And I know you picked the Vikings. And
I did.
And I'm sure we'll both pick them this week against the Rams. But it was just a tough game.
It was. I think you're absolutely right. There was just some self-inflicted wounds here. But I think the promising thing is they did hang in there with, arguably – the best or the second best team in the NFC, I guess right now the best team in the NFC. So the fact that they kept it close and they kept it tight, all the post-game stuff, clean up the mistakes and all the regular stuff we're used to hearing. I think that this is really promising that, if it had been a wider loss, if they lost by two touchdowns or more, I think then you'd say, well, maybe a bit of a paper tiger, but they held their own, Jeff, and they did really well. And I actually thought of you on yesterday because just thinking, Jeff might know what he's talking about. He got the score pretty close.
Yeah, well, I'm not ready to go to Vegas and become a line maker, but I did feel it was going to be a close game. And as I said, I think that you look at these two teams, and first of all, I think Detroit, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl this year. I haven't seen a lot to dissuade me at this point. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, they still managed 4 sacks on Sam Darnold and a number of hits. I don't think they're as good up front as they were. I think that's disappointing from the Vikings offensive line standpoint that they couldn't protect Darnold a little bit better in this game. He was forced to run a few times, escape the pressure. I think that, first of all, the Vikings were not going to go 17-0. We know that there was going to be some losses. This was an obvious possibility.
Absolutely.
And if you had said before the season that to Viking fans out there that the Vikings would be 5-1 after 6 games, having faced 4 playoff teams from last year and beaten San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, and lost to Detroit very narrowly, I think that anybody would have taken that in a heartbeat. They're 5-1. Now I think the key is bounce back, short week, very challenging with the travel to LA. It's a big advantage for the home team on these Thursday night games. So can they bounce back on that short week? The Rams coming off a win over the Raiders. They didn't look great in that game. The Raiders are not a good team. Their quarterback situation is bad, but the Rams managed to get the W. They've got Cooper Kupp coming back this week. Not going to be an easy game by any stretch, and it's the first matchup for Kevin O'Connell against his old guru, mentor, Sean McVay, the head coach of the Rams, where they won a Super Bowl together when O'Connell was the offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of reunions going on there, too, in this game for O'Connell and McVay. But most important thing is to find a way to win this game. But let's look back at a really exciting game. If you didn't care who won, a really exciting football game at US Bank Stadium. The crowd was fantastic, as they've been all year. And they forced Goff to take a timeout in the third quarter. Couldn't hear. But to his credit, he was able to overcome that crowd noise. The Lions offense, that's terrific, was able to play well. The defense made enough plays for Detroit, but the Vikings still moved the ball, 380-plus total yards, very close in total yards to the Lions. But our highlights, courtesy of Fox and Adam Amin and Greg Olson. And let's start in the first quarter. Vikings sniff out a fake punt call by the aggressive, perhaps overly aggressive, Dan Campbell on the Detroit's first series from well in their own territory. Vikings stop the play. Brian Asamoah and C.J. Ham make the tackle, sets them up for this early touchdown run by Aaron Jones. And let's give Aaron Jones credit for making the start, coming off that hamstring injury, fought his way back, that he hurt himself in London. It was good they had the bye week. He played the whole game and played great as expected. Here's Aaron Jones on a touchdown.
They got to keep putting the ball in the air downfield. Off he goes, Aaron Jones. And what a lightning strike for the Vikings.
And he's not slowing down with that hamstring. He's showing that speed, and great blocking on the play from Christian Darrisaw, Josh Oliver, and Jordan Addison. Kind of the light Jordan Addison getting in the way, too. So an early lead for the Vikings, which they extend to 10-0. Jefferson makes a big catch, leaping catch, and sets up Will Reichard for a 57-yard field goal. He's been terrific this year. He's now 30 for 30 on his kicks.
They'll bring Will Reichard, the rookie out of Alabama, out for one of the longest field goals of his NFL career. And Will Reichard is 27 for 27.
Yeah, which he extended to 30 for 30 as the game went on. It's just a shame he didn't get that last shot for an NFL record attempt of 68 yards. I got to think the guy would have made it because he's been so good this year.
Absolutely.
So the Vikings are up 10-0. Then the tide turned in the second quarter, and Goff got hot. The pass rush slowed down. Here's Jahmyr Gibbs, who is a terrific running back. Very fast, very elusive. And watch this juke he puts on Cam Bynum on a 45-yard touchdown run.
Brock Wright lined up as the fullback. Off the right, here's Gibbs. Good run, best run, good move. There he goes, needs a block. He's in. Jahmyr Gibbs answers back for Detroit, and they're on the board.
10-7 at that point. The Lions' offensive line, best in the NFL. They're a great offensive line, led by Frank Ragnow, native of Chanhassen, Minnesota, played college ball at Arkansas. that offensive line played really well on the day, but the Vikings still were able to generate enough pressure in this game. Got 4 sacks, had 5 tackles for loss, had 7 quarterback hits on Goff. Again, he held in there in the game. Here's another play where Goff beats the blitz in the second quarter and hits Amon-Ra St. Brown, 35-yard touchdown pass, running kind of scot-free, but a perfect throw from Goff.
7 guys up at the line of scrimmage. They're showing cover 0. Now it's just a question who drops and who comes.
They bring 6, they drop 1. Launching Goff over the top for St. Brown. And Detroit, after trailing by 10, has taken the lead.
Yeah, Byron Murphy's chasing him. He was not the primary guy in coverage, but saw what was going on. At this point, the Lions are starting to assert themselves. They're up 14-10. It's the first time the Vikings trailed since the first quarter against the Giants in the season opener. But to their credit, they didn't pack it in. Lions score another touchdown in the second quarter. They're up 21-10 at the half, but the Vikings come out first drive of the third quarter, 80 yards, 9 plays, and here is the culmination 25-yard touchdown pass. Justin Jefferson, the best receiver in the league, did not get enough targets in this game, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Here's a touchdown pass to Jefferson from Darnold. Perfect throw.
3rd and long for Darnold, taking a shot for Jefferson!
He's so good, Jeff.
Oh, so good, and such a great adjustment that he makes to those back shoulder throws. Yeah. And so the Vikings 21-17 down at this point and starting to make their move. Before we go to the further highlights in the second half, or a couple of lowlights, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. It's time to take the field in an SUV that's designed to be unstoppable in every pursuit. That's the all-new 2024 GMC Acadia. From its reimagined interior to its bold, capable exterior, Acadia is suited up so you can make winning drives wherever they may lead. Whether it's at home or away, your team will enjoy the ride in comfort with 3 rows of spacious seating for 7. Plus, Acadia comes standard with other winning features like heated front seats, remote start, and a 2.5-liter engine with a GM estimated 328 horsepower. Or take yours to the championship level with available amenities like a panoramic sunroof or an off-road tuned suspension. Don't sit on the sidelines any longer. Test drive your new 2024 GMC Acadia today. Available now at your Select Minnesota GMC dealers. Vikings and the Colts, as you told me as I walked in, Sam, have been flexed to in Week 9 after that Thursday night game with the Rams and a mini bye. The Vikings and the Colts will move to Sunday night.
Yes,
for a 7:20 start, and that's a nice reflection on the Vikings' great start to the season and the fact that Jacksonville, Philadelphia was not as attractive a game. So good news, I think, for Viking fans that can have plenty of time on that Sunday to get revved up, shall we say?
Oh, yeah.
For a Sunday night primetime game. That will be very exciting. The last time they faced the Colts, as we recall, was that monumental, historic comeback where they ended up winning the game after they were down, 33-0 or something, came back to win. So certainly I think that'll be an exciting game. The Colts got a nice win yesterday. They're 4-3 on the season, only a game behind the Texans in the AFC South. So we move to further in the third quarter. As we said, Vikings trailing 21-17. Here's a bad play by the defense. Stephon Gilmore has played really well this year, did not play so well yesterday. He falls down in coverage on this play. He had a couple of other plays where he gave up big receptions. He's going to be fine. He's a great player, 5-time Pro Bowler. On this play, he falls down and sets up Khalif Raymond for a 21-yard touchdown pass.
4 on the rush. Goff underneath. He's got a man and a first down to Raymond. He gets away from a defender and scores!
So the Lions regain that 11-point lead at that point, looking a little grim As we head into the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, the Lions got the ball, and the Vikings have now kicked a couple field goals, have kind of trimmed the lead a little bit. So it's now 28-23, and here's the big defensive play of the game. Josh Metellus on the punch-out, Ivan Pace on the scoop and score, and the Vikings are in business ahead in this game, amazingly.
He can just do so many different things for this defense.
This time Montgomery, Bynum, grab them, that ball is out! Picked up by Pace! Down the sideline! There is a flag! He's in! Minnesota leads, pending the penalty.
And the flag was a holding penalty on Detroit. The Lions had plenty of penalties in the game, but unfortunately so did the Vikings, and a lot of pre-snap penalties that O'Connell talked about post-game, talked about today in his media session. The Vikings have to clean up those pre-snap penalties, the self-inflicted wounds, as he called them. Vikings, as we said, are up 29-28 at this point. Here was a real costly play. After that was the two-point conversion attempt by Sam Darnold. I think that Sam had a couple of major miscues at the end of this game, and as I said, outplayed by Goff in this game. On the two-point conversion, he throws it kind of in the dirt or into the turf to Addison, who's very well covered. If he's more patient, he's got Aaron Jones kind of flaring out to the right. He could probably walk into the end zone on that two-point play, but he may be a little panicky at that point. And the Vikings are up one. You had to feel a little anxious with that 1-point lead, giving Detroit back the ball and Jared Goff. And he certainly, at that point, drives them downfield. And as we know, it's just a situation. But before that, the Vikings were able to actually get the ball back on a Van Ginkel sack where he strips Goff deep in Lions territory. Ragnow, who I mentioned before, recovered the fumble. That could have been the game right there.
Right.
But the Lions got the ball back. They had to punt, and the Vikings have the ball with 4 minutes to go in their 4-minute drill, get down, and there's 2:46 left. And here I think is really the play of the game for the Vikings when Sam Darnold overthrows an open Justin Jefferson on 3rd and 4.
On 3rd and 4, it's Darnold rolling and throwing on the move, too tall. Looking for Jalen Naylor or Justin Jefferson up the sideline. Had a couple of options, and it ends up stopping the clock. That's the critical piece here.
Yeah, it was actually Jordan Addison that was maybe a little too close to Jefferson on that route. But again, he threw it too tall for JJ. We still call him JJ until J.J. McCarthy comes back. He's still J.J.
We can enjoy it for one more year.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. Jets or J.J., whatever. But I'll make this point, too, about Jefferson in this game. The Vikings targeted him 8 times. There's only one game this year, Sam, where they have targeted Jefferson more than 8 times. That was the Jets game in London. He had 14 targets in that game. This is, to me, kind of inexcusable. When you're talking about your best player, the best receiver in the league, he's got to have double-digit sacks or double-digit targets every game. He ends up with 7 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. It could have been a lot bigger. His last 3 games against Detroit were monumental games, 150-plus yard games or whatever, 140-plus yards. He had a 200-yard game in there. And the Lions' secondary is not great. They're starting a rookie, Terrion Arnold, at corner. He had 8 penalties this year, 5 pass interference. They didn't really test him. So I've got my qualms what was going on in the game plan. Now, whether you blame Darnold for picking other receivers out and thinking Jefferson's double covered, hey, don't worry about him being doubled.
Exactly.
Throw it to him like they did in Buffalo. And even, Sam, at the end of the game, when they throw the 20-yarder to Naylor, and I know that gave him a possible 68-yard field goal, why not throw a deep ball to Jefferson?
Yeah.
Like in the Buffalo game? Give him a chance to either make a terrific catch or be interfered with, and you get one more play with a more makeable field goal to win it. I did not like how they utilized Justin. He had 1 target in the last quarter and a half of this game. After that 25-yard touchdown catch, only 1 more target, and that was on that 3rd and 4 play. That just cannot happen offensively. And as we said, defensively, just too many miscues in coverage, even though they've still got great play from Van Ginkel. The guy is just, he's having a defensive player of the year caliber season. 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, 7 tackles, 1 forced fumble in this game. Grenard had another big game. Vikings doing a lot of good things. As you said, there are, and as O'Connell said, there are a lot of positives to take out of this. The negatives are the penalties, the use of Jefferson, Darnold's bad decisions and bad throws on a couple of key plays, and it ends up in their first loss of the year. Let's hear from Kevin O'Connell.
Thought we did a lot of good things, but there's a lot of things that I think just collectively as a team we can continue to improve on. When you play a good football team like that, you've got to find a way to limit some of the things that set you back, whether it's penalties or communication, whatever it is. A lot of areas we can improve on, but I'm proud of the way our guys battled. Came back in the second half. We were able to capture the lead, really as a team, and they were able to, get that last 3 there, and we'd love to have a chance to give Will a swing at the very end there. But a lot of positives, a lot of things we'll build off of. Going to be a challenging turnover this week from a standpoint of a short week off a physical game. Every guy in that locker room putting everything they had into it. So these are the moments where we truly find out what we're all about, and look forward to leading this group through it.
We purposely did not show that winning field goal by Detroit, by the way, which I don't want to see it again.
No,
I don't think anybody else does either that lives in the Twin Cities and is a Viking fan. Justin Jefferson, post-game, he was disappointed. He didn't say anything about how many targets he had, but he was just talking about leaving a lot of plays out there.
A competitive game, 2 great teams going head-to-head together. We knew coming into this game that it was going to be a battle. It wasn't going to be an easy, cakewalk. And they just got the better advantage today. They came up with the dub today. Got to give them kudos. But we definitely hurt ourselves in plenty of ways that y'all probably can't see. But, out there in that field, we missed plenty of opportunities. So we just got to be better, especially, all of the flags that we had. We just got to be better, all around, and come Thursday, ready to go.
Hey, Justin, what are the ways that you hurt yourselves that we couldn't see?
Yeah, just missing out on some execution plays. Of course, getting the 2-point conversion towards the end of the game, that would have helped tremendously. Getting that 3rd down towards the end of the game would have helped tremendously. So just plays being left out there on the field. But it's no single person's fault. We all got to be dialed in as a whole entire team. Both sides or 3 sides of the ball, and just come to work. That's all.
Yeah, I always credit Justin for being a team guy, being a team captain, and not throwing people under the bus. And certainly he mentioned the misfire on the 3rd and 4 play. Here's Sam Darnold talking about that play.
Just could have put it on him a little bit more, a little bit better. But again, just gotta watch the tape, and kind of look at that one from different angles.
From the defensive standpoint, Josh Metellus talking post-game about the Vikings' defensive play in this game.
End of the game situations, the key moments. You get a heavyweight battle like this, it comes down to situational football. You lost the situational football today.
How surprising is that?
It's surprising because, that's our philosophy. And, we know what the standard is, and the standard is to be great in those moments especially. So it's definitely it's something, that we got to look forward to getting better at, coming this Thursday. We got a quick turnaround.
As Josh mentioned, a big turnaround, quick turnaround Thursday with the game in LA, having to travel and so forth. Let's hear from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers, and then we're going to come back and talk about what happened yesterday around the NFL and preview week 8, I guess.
Week 8, that's right.
There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade. GMC. Well-qualified buyers get 1.9% APR for 36 months on GMC Sierra light-duty models. See your local GMC dealer today. Monthly payment is $28.16 for every $1,000 you finance. Average example down payment 15%. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/24.
The Lions game was the first game this season the Vikings have been outrushed. It was close, 144 to 139, but that's a lot of yards being given up by the number 2 rushing defense in the league, which the Vikings came in with, and we knew the Lions were a good running team coming in at number 4. The turnovers were even at 1 apiece, and the Vikings kind of effectively had a second turnover with the fake punt stop. So the Vikings were okay in that category. But when they faced the Rams, be good to get back on that train of outrushing the opponent that led to 5 straight victories.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. I don't mean to get too far ahead of ourselves, Jeff, but I think they'll bounce back pretty well.
Yeah, I think they will too, as long as they can recover physically and as long as Aaron Jones can play, which he came out of it, said he was feeling fine. He's just a terrific player, highly motivated, obviously, to have a big season. Had a excellent game, 116 combined yards, the 1 touchdown to start the game. I mentioned before, I think it's time to get T.J. Hockenson back in the lineup. Johnny Munt has been a pretty good player, taking Hawkinson's place as tight end number 1, but Johnny did not have a good game against the Lions. He had 2 holding penalties, 1 drop pass, and a missed block on a screen play. It's time for Hockenson to get back in there. He says he's healthy. I think maybe they didn't want to play him either on the turf, artificial turf, or against the team that hurt him last year. Right. Let him come back for the next Lions game, which will be the season finale. Vikings hope there's a lot on the line, like a division title and a number 1 NFC seed when they meet the first weekend in January in Detroit. We'll see. That could be another game that could definitely be flexed.
Absolutely.
if both teams continue on this path. And there's really no reason to not think the Vikings can get back rolling. The schedule kind of turns in their favor a little bit now. You still got to play each week. The Rams aren't going to be easy. They were a playoff team a couple years ago, but they're 2-4. Then they got the Colts here. Should be able to beat them. They've got Jacksonville, Tennessee, several games coming up against teams with losing records. So if they can get back on track and get into that double-digit wins and set themselves up so they're in contention for the division title for that season finale against Detroit. Not going to be easy because the Lions are really good, but as we said, they still miss Aiden Hutchinson. We know that. Around the NFL, the Packers overcame a couple interceptions by Jordan Love. Their new kicker, Brandon McManus, made a 45-yard walk-off field goal for the Packers to beat the Texans, who have lost only to the Vikings and the Packers. Green Bay is now 5-2, right on the Vikings and Lions' heels. Saquon Barkley had a huge game against his former Giants team at MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands. I'm sure he relished that, 176 rushing yards. The Giants are a mess. Daniel Jones sacked 7 times. The Chiefs stayed unbeaten, beat the 49ers, who are all banged up, and now Brandon Ayuk looks like he has a torn ACL. They're in trouble. Can't get McCaffrey back. Russell Wilson steps in the starting role, had a shaky start, but then threw a couple touchdown passes, played pretty well. And they throttled the Jets in Pittsburgh.
You called that one, Jeff. I got to give you credit.
Yeah.
I was skeptical about that one. I told you about that off the air.
Jets are 2-5. They're reeling. Kirk Cousins, strip sack, return for a touchdown, 2 interceptions. They get hammered by the Seahawks at home. That one surprised me a little bit. And as we said, the Rams beat the Raiders 20-15. had a couple interceptions in that game that set up touchdowns for them. So we head into Thursday night against the Rams. We're going to have our show on Wednesday night where we'll preview that big game. It's always a big game, national TV, Thursday night. And this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday, except this week, Wednesday, during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers in the 24 GMC Acadia and Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. This is Jeff Diamond with Sam Bird, and we will talk to you on Wednesday night as we preview the Vikings and the Rams.